Hi, I'm Danielle Matus at Caring Medical Florida, here with a patient of mine, Esther. And we're interviewing Esther today, basically on your experience with prolotherapy and your pain. So let's start kind of diving right in. What brought you to Caring Medical?
Last year, I had this massive headache, nonstop for 5 months. I couldn't function inside the house with all the lights off. I had 3 pair of sunglasses on. It was excruciating. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't read. I couldn't even lay down. Everything hurt so bad. And I felt like I fell into a medical vacuum. My neurologist kept saying, here's another medication, see you in a month. He wanted to send me to a headache center that took a year to get an appointment.
Oh my God.
I felt like I was losing my mind. And I could look online for about 30 seconds before my head hurt too much. So I spent those 30 seconds, I had this headache on the bridge of my nose, and I spent those 30 seconds researching that kind of headache over a period of time. And one day, a video that Dr. Hauser had done of describing that kind of pain, and he said, this is usually C1 stuck on your skull with your nerve root. And he said, but one way to check is if you jut out your chin in this way, it should make it worse. It made it so much worse. It was crazy. So then I was looking more on your website, and I have been diagnosed in the past with POTS, and your website said, Dr. Hauser said POTS is often instability in your neck. And I had had breast cancer a few years before, and I had had double vision and other vision problems since that treatment. And Dr. Hauser had another video that described vision problems. And so my husband and I started talking about it, and we actually said to each other, either Dr. Hauser knows all what's wrong with me, or he's a quack. You know, it's like, but I just felt like it was going down my list of symptoms.
Sure.
And so my husband and I decided last September for me to come.
Okay.
And at that time, besides the headaches, I hadn't been able to eat solid food for 3 months because I had like this band of tightness right around my jaw. I couldn't eat or chew. Anyway, it was dramatic. The first visit didn't get rid of the headaches, but helped it a lot, and I could start to eat soft foods and stuff. And, you know, what I was told is there was 2 main problems. Not only was C1 stuck on my skull, but that my jugular vein was completely closed when I was upright. So I continued doing prolotherapy. At first, I was only seeing Dr. Hauser. And in December, last year, when they redid my testing, my jugular vein was still closed when I was upright. And so Dr. Hauser said, we need to start investigating your thoracic spine. And so he told me to make an appointment with you the next time I came to investigate my thoracic spine. And in between those 2 appointments, I got diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos, and I started thinking about instability. And I realized that in physical therapy, one stretch that was really hurting, I was actually popping my hip out of joint. So I called back and I said, when I meet with Danielle about my thoracic spine, can she also look at my hips? And they said, sure. And then I have had pain in my hands for 30 years.
It's a long time.
It's a long time, and it really affects my daily living. But at Christmas time, I was sitting there holding my hands right here and thinking about Ehlers-Danlos, and it's like, you know, I'm holding them right on the joints. So I called up and I said, well, Danielle's looking at my thoracic spine and my hip. Can she look at my hands? So
it's a very common thing in my practice. Like, actually, all these other joints. But no, with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, I mean, with this connective tissue laxity, like, people have a lot of joint pain with it. So, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so that's what brought me.
Okay.
And then when I first met you, I think you were surprised at how bad my hands were and my hips.
I think your hip, not to be dramatic, but I think you could have easily dislocated it on the exam table with like minimal force. Like that was a very unstable hip. Yes, absolutely. I remember. And I remember, like, with your hands, like you saying that you've had like pain for 30 years. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, yeah, a very, very long time. And you work with your hands. So
I try to avoid it. I think I have a job where they want me more for my mind than my hands, and so I only do things in small bits and pieces. So I was able to function at work, but I certainly avoid certain kinds of things.
how are your hands doing now?
My left hand is dramatically different. So I very rarely, I have still my wrist hurts and my going up into my thumb, but just general everyday stuff, I don't notice my left hand. It's dramatic. The right, it's not, like my hands were in pain all the time, and I would, laying in bed, they would hurt every night, and they don't hurt all the time. But my right hand, like it hurts right now because I just filled out the form, and just that much writing is still
Got it.
enough to make it hurt. But even my right hand, it doesn't hurt all the time, but I've started physical therapy with my right hand, and I can do little bits with
Okay.
it. So even that, I can tell the difference. It was funny, on the way here, I flew United, and they always give you the little wipes, and I have never been able to open the package, but I could open it.
Oh my gosh.
On the way here.
I love that.
This is the first time I could ever, I didn't have to ask somebody else to open the package.
That's
on the-
amazing. So like we see, too, like a lot of athletes and people that, that want to run marathons, which is fabulous and fantastic and so forth. But I love hearing things like this because there's a lot of times where little things like opening a packet or like changing the radio station or, like walking down a flight of stairs or just things that so many of us maybe take for granted, like make a huge deal in someone that's been suffering with this pain for so long. So I love hearing that kind of stuff. That's actually my favorite. How would you describe like a typical day, maybe like before you got treatment, living with your pain, and then now? Like you kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, my head, it was so horrible.
Yeah.
I thought I was going insane. It hurt so bad all the time, and it was 5 months without any problems. I also had all this vision problems. For 4 years, I had been part-time at work because I couldn't look at the computer enough to do my job, and it just was a lot of stress. And as my neck gets better, my vision has improved as well. It's not 100% perfect, but I'm back full time.
That's amazing.
After being part-time for 4 years after my breast cancer. So it's exciting.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your hip is more attached to your body?
I do. I do. I was in besides it coming out of the socket, I was in quite a lot of pain.
For sure,
and it was both standing and sitting. And it still hurts some, but it's a much lower intensity, kind of a more...
You can function better.
And yeah.
Well, because this is probably what a lot of people that experience pain, whether you have pain in one joint or several joints, like it takes over your mind, it takes over your thought, it takes over your life, after some time. So being able to function and think and, it's not, even if there's still some pain there that we're still working on resolving, if it doesn't take over your life anymore, that's huge.
Right.
Yeah. Or if it's all you can think about, or 5 months where you got to wear 3 pairs of sunglasses, Yeah, that's dramatic.
Yes.
Do you have anything that you're looking forward to to doing that you haven't done in a long time, or any activity now that your pain is reducing?
I love to cook, and I've had to have been creative over the years because I can't, with my back, I can't stand up for very long, and with my hands, everything got even worse after my chemo and stuff. So, I've just been creative. Like I cook in bursts.
Okay.
Like I make a meal, you do 5 minutes of this prep and then you rest. And so I look.
It'll take you like all day long to make that meal?
Yes.
Okay.
And doing the dishes, putting the dishes in the dishwasher, I have to do it in segments.
Okay.
So, you empty one shelf and then later you empty another shelf and
Oh my
and
gosh.
stuff. So I look forward to just being able to just do that stuff.
Unload the dishwasher and cook. So in your journey where you had a lot of pain and you were seeing, a lot of specialists and doctors and trying other things, and maybe you kind of answered this before, but like what led you here? Like what made you think that, okay, comprehensive prolotherapy sounds like this would work for me?
I was desperate on that headache.
I would imagine.
It was so bad and I was desperate. But then when I started reading more about the site and putting everything together, the POTS and the vision problems. And then when I learned that I had Ehlers-Danlos, it's kind of put everything in my whole life into perspective.
I believe that.
I think every time I come, I ask you to look at a different
Probably.
joint.
Yeah.
And so I'm realizing just how much I've had pain everywhere, but also compensating. I had 3 weeks this time with no pain, the 3 weeks after treatment.
That's amazing.
And, not knowing what it's like to not have all that pain and stuff.
Wonderful.
And
To feel good.
yeah, exactly. So when I started, it was because of my neck, but then as I learned about all these other joints, and what's funny is I look at people now and I'm starting to say, oh, that person's got.
You're very aware of it now. Yeah.
So some problems in joints and stuff, but yeah.
I was at a comedy show once, and at the end of the comedy show, they called out, they're like, is anybody in the audience double jointed? And everyone that went on stage and showed like how they could like morph their body around. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, I couldn't even watch it. It was so bad. But I pick up on that stuff. Yeah, like everywhere. You like watch people walk, or like, that person probably needs prolotherapy. But thank you, Esther, for joining us today on here.
Yes.
All right, let's keep working on it.
Okay. Yeah.